So, 105 Mittens has made a video reply to my video tearing apart the lie that is China forces abortions on women. She took quite an exception to it and seemed really upset by it, my not believing the not having any evidence thing. So, I'm going to deal with her video. The commenting system is screwed up on YouTube. I leave messages all the time that don't get posted. But you left out the part where I was blamed for the comments not getting through. You left out the part where a comment was left saying, "What's the matter? You don't like comments that prove you wrong?" Well, I'm not responsible for YouTube errors. It's very difficult to put URLs into the comments section. It's actually pretty lame to blame me for that. It would have been nice if somebody had told me your video had been made. Now, you didn't need to go and get certain people to go on Twitter and what seems like calling me out and challenging me to answer it. This video was made in reply to you. Are you going to answer it? Not, hey, a video reply was made that you don't know about it. Here it is. Would have been easy to just have somebody tell me about it. Now, as for the video you said you watched, I've already watched it. I've seen the video that you have in question. It's a bunch of pictures with sad music. That's not evidence. That's myth-making, like on the level of the 700 Club. We got the same thing before the invasions of Iraq and Libya. Now, when I see some evidence of a forced abortion policy, I'll take a look at it. And if it's true, I'll condemn them for it. I already condemn them for a lot of things that are wrong, like people disappearing, suicide being almost the leading cause of death among peasant women, along with censorship. Obviously, you didn't see my videos on that. You automatically went ahead and basically insinuated that I defend China on everything and that I pretend it doesn't do bad things wrong. No, that's not what I do at all. And you don't know that because you don't pay attention to the videos I make. Then you deliberately altered a statement I made. I said there have been many cases of men forcing their wives of abortions. You said these were acts of individuals. I said acts of individuals, not state. Nowhere did I say that they were acts of individuals. Misogyny is not an act of an individual. It's a problem caused by a collection of people. And I know that. I never stated that it was individuals. Don't twist my words. Then you say a state is made up of people, so therefore if a bunch of people did it, it must have been the state. Yes, the state is a bunch of people. But you've forgotten that there's a difference between men forcing their wives to have an abortion and a law, an official government policy being written. These are two different things. Oh, and I like how on this issue of whether or not forced abortions are happening, you asked people to give information as opposed to providing any, because you're the one demanding that they're real. And now, in the video, you start talking about the persecution of Christians, which has nothing to do with the video I made. So, 4 minutes into a near 11-minute video, you've already changed the topic. Why? And I know what Christians call persecution, not being able to force Christianity on the government. The secular policy of keeping Christianity out of the government, I support that. Don't start crying to me about persecution. I come from a people who were almost wiped out by Christians, the Sami, the forgotten victims of Christ worshippers. I'm one of the few followers left of our indigenous religion, thanks to Christian persecution. The Christians brought us being burned at the stake, forced sterilization, the horror of residential schools, eugenics, the campaign to destroy our religion and culture, which more than one European government has apologized for. You know, that's what you call proof. Still waiting for the Christians to apologize for that. So don't cry to me about poor Christians being persecuted in a secular society. Because frankly, you pretty much deserve it for all the pain you've caused the entire world. You're not going to get any sympathy out of it from me. Then you go on to say that with the censorship, it'd be very hard to get information out of China. Well, except for the foreign media there. And the millions upon millions of Chinese who've left the country that could bring information, which I already mentioned in the video, which you conveniently ignored. And by the way, if half the population of China is women, that would make 750 million women. Do you realize how many bureaucrats it would take to watch that many women to see if they get pregnant? The Department of Homeland Security can't even watch 300 million people with all its technological superiority, and that is the largest bureaucracy that has ever been created in the history of mankind. How the hell could you do the same with 750 million people, half the population? If this persecution is happening to half the population, how could it be kept secret? Because by its mere existence, half the population already knows about it. So how could it even be? How could it even be covered up? You claim I made a bold statement in saying forced abortions never took place. No, actually, you are making a bold statement in saying that they did. Then you say, I need people from China to back it up. Well, how do I get someone who didn't witness something to say it didn't happen? That's like asking an atheist to witness God not existing. Because you can't actually prove God doesn't exist the same way that you can't actually prove that he does. You can't witness a negative. Someone who didn't witness something is not proof of something. How do you prove a negative? What do you want me to do? Grab 100 million people in China who never saw an abortion and present that as proof? You were the one making the claim. You have to back it up. You need to provide evidence, which I already asked for. This part here by you was just pathetic. You cite evidence by books by Chinese dissidents. Of course, you didn't mention one book or mention one thing that was even in any of the books. Okay, well, we already know what a load of crap those are. I can say anything in a book, it doesn't make it true. Particularly if it was something that I consider to be an enemy ideology. You need evidence. You have to back up what you're saying. The famine in China is supposedly killing 45 million people, or 30 million, or 60 million, or 70 million, 80 million, 90 million, 100 million, whichever the number happens to be this week. They were written by anti-communists with information from dissidents, which turned out to be twisted, saying a death rate was 58% when the state statistics that they actually took it from said 58 out of every 1,000. So we already know anti-China dissidents, this is the way that they act, and this is what they consider to be proof of something. So you're really going to have to do better than some person who doesn't like China and is dissenting from it is proof of something. Okay, now that you've failed to present any information, which I asked for, now you've changed the argument again, saying I defended the ruling class being killed in war. I advocated murder. I suppose you and the rest of the pathetic liberal ideology of just persecuting the people who do the crime and then persecute the people who stop the crime have a better idea? Maybe while hundreds of millions of people were starving to death and being killed, maybe they should have written a strongly worded letter to those causing it? Pretty difficult, with 87% of the country having been illiterate at the time. But of course, in your mind, the people causing hundreds of millions to suffer and them being stopped is the same thing as just killing someone who disagrees with you. What a pathetic comparison, completely abstracted from what was going on. This exposes what little knowledge you actually have of what was going on. To actually make the comparison between those two things, that's like trying to get $20 or $50 knocked off your rent and comparing that to someone who's dying in the third world because their rents are so high that they can't afford food and become indentured into slavery. It's like making the same comparison. You know nothing of Chinese history. You know nothing of the Cultural Revolution or its policies. Don't even pretend. All you have are criticisms that aren't even close to being grounded in the really existing material conditions at the time. Your ignorance of what happened is absolutely astounding. Your video was the disgrace of a video reply. You offered nothing. You changed the subject more than once and showed a complete ignorance of revolutionary China. All you did was jump on the anti-China bandwagon and spout its garbage without even backing it up. In fact, I don't think you even can. My country told me that China was bad, so they must be. Way to be a tool.